My name is Margaret Probert. I was born on September the 5th, 1937 in a cottage in Skethrock. When I was 4 years old, I moved to Talybont. I still live in Talybont in Pentre, opposite the Henderson Hall. Before the hall was built, families were more in touch with one another because there weren't many cars and people didn't have much money. So a lot more went on in the village in those days because we didn't used to go far out of the village. We had all our entertainment and whatever we wanted to do up at the church hall. And when that was closed, we then moved to the Henderson Hall. The Henderson Hall was opened on July the 12th, 1969, also celebrating Prince Charles's investiture. I was there with my husband and the 2 children. The hall was opened by Mrs. Henderson, who had lived in Ashford House with her husband for many, many years. And after he died, she moved to London. So they gave a very big donation for the hall to be built. And then some of the money came from Powys County Council. The opening of the hall, also present were Brian Stevens of Stevens the Builders, who built the hall, the chairman, Douglas Mason, the secretary was Ernest Barnes, and Sian Scotford was the granddaughter of Stevens's, and she presented Mrs. Henderson with a bouquet of flowers. During the day, luckily it was a nice dry day, we were entertained to lots of different things. There were sports for the children. And then in the field, we had a push ball, which was about 5 foot high. And there were 2 teams, just like tug of war. First to get it over the line. My husband ended up with a black eye. And Brian Stevens lost his wedding ring. So that wasn't a very good idea. And we had a tug of war over the little river, down by the Usk Hotel. We had hoopla, we had a treasure hunt, a coconut stall. I can remember us making the coconut stands. We had to go to a blacksmith up in Cantref to have them built, to have them welded. We had hoopla, a wishing well, which the children adored. Guess the way to the sheep, which was quite funny because mostly the farmers got the right way, but not the others. And they also ran up the alt. I cannot remember, I don't think we built a bonfire, but they ran up the alt with a sort of a torch. I can't quite remember that, but it was a race. So up and down and the first one back. And we had tea. Everyone in the 3 parishes was invited to tea. And I can remember the silly sandwiches we had, and I still can remember now, marmalade and peanut butter in the same sandwich. Nearly all of the people, I would say, from the 3 parishes came because the children were presented with a mug celebrating Prince Charles's investiture. The Henderson Hall was so different, modern. It was quite a lot better because the church hall was small and very cold. All the things that went on in the church hall before continued in the Henderson Hall. But in those days, we had a lot more things going on in the village. Girl Guides and Brownies, Cubs and Scouts, WI, Mothers Union, football, cricket. About 2 years after the hall was opened, my friend Monarch and I started up the Christmas party for the children, and that continues today. The other great thing that happened after the hall was opened, Nurse Evans, who was our district nurse, and Nurse Panis decided they'd open the hall every Monday from September to May to cook dinner for the elderly people of the village. So myself and Diane Eckley were the waiters, and Mrs. Burgess and Mrs. Curtis were the cooks. And everyone who couldn't come to the hall, we took their dinner out in the car. So I went with Nurse Panis to deliver their dinner to the elderly people. Then when the church hall was sold to Wilson Schools, Mrs. Burgess and Mrs. Curtis left to be cooks of the hall. And Diane also left because the station was open for the Gwent County Council, and she went down there to be cook. So I was left on my own. So over the years, different people were cooking, different people were helping. We were normally about 5 helpers, but every Monday we had about 30 to 40 people coming for a lovely cooked dinner. They only paid £1. They had a dinner, a pudding, a raffle ticket, and sometimes we had entertainment. And then at Christmas time, we had a donation from Powys County Council. So we done a Christmas party and dinner for all the pensioners of the village. We used to have about 60 or 70. And they had a cooked dinner, trifle, Christmas pudding, presents, entertainment, and it was absolutely lovely. They thoroughly enjoyed it. And when we finished in May, we took them out for a treat. They all dressed up in their best clothes. We got travel arrangements, and we took them to some very interesting places which they don't think they'd have gone to otherwise. Went to Langoyd Hall, Glyphus, Glenesk. Lady Brecken had us up to her house in Crossoak. We went on the boat on the canal 2 or 3 times. We went up to June Pickering's, who lived in the storehouse and ran the boats. And we also went down to Goitre Wharf on the boats. And they absolutely adored it. I'd done that for 27 years. And I was so sorry when the time came when we couldn't do it anymore. And one of the biggest things that I think I've contributed to over the years was the suggestion to put the path around the playing field, because the little children down our street used to ride on the road and very frightened they'd get knocked over. And I think that is one of the best things that's ever happened, because we see people walking around there most days of the week. People come here with elderly people in their wheelchairs to walk around there, and children can ride their bikes in safety. Or, like my son, likes to lose weight, so he sometimes walks around there 15 times a day. I couldn't believe it was 50 years since the hall has opened. Yes, we did go as a family over the hall to the 2 concerts and to see the exhibition, which was absolutely wonderful. Talybont is one of the most wonderful places to live. We have so much in this village. So many people come and visit us on a Saturday and Sunday. It's unbelievable. I don't think you'd find another village around here which has so many visitors on a weekend as we do. It is such a lovely part of the world that we live in, and we should appreciate where we live.